Hello students, this is Mrs. Sonal Patil. We had begun with the chapter Cell, the Unit of Life, and in the previous class we have studied up till endomembrane system. Today we will study about the next cell organelle, mitochondria. Mitochondria, unless specifically stained, are not easily visible under the microscope. The number of mitochondria per cell is variable depending on the physiological activity of the cells. In terms of shape and size also, considerably degree of variability is observed. So it is variable in shape and size. Typically it is sausage shaped or cylindrical, having diameter of 0.2 to 1 micrometer and length 1 to 4.1 micrometer. Each mitochondrion is a double membrane bound structure, that is, it is having two layers, an outer membrane and the inner membrane, dividing its lumen distinctly into two aqueous compartments, that is, the outer compartment and the inner compartment. So remember, each mitochondrion is a double membrane bound structure with outer and inner membrane. The inner compartment is called the matrix. The outer membrane forms the continuous limiting boundary of the organelle. The inner membrane forms a number of infoldings called cristae. Very important. So inner membrane is showing some infoldings. Outer membrane is continuous, whereas the inner membrane shows infoldings which are called as cristae, which are towards the matrix. The cristae increases the surface area. The two membranes have their own specific enzymes associated with the mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the sites of aerobic respiration. They produce cellular energy in the form of ATP. Hence, they are called powerhouses of the cells. So, very important to remember, they are called as powerhouses of the cell because they produce cellular energy in the form of ATP. The matrix also possesses singular circular DNA molecule, a few RNA molecules, ribosomes, and the components which are required for the synthesis of proteins. The mitochondria divide by fission. It divides by fission. See the structure of the mitochondria. You can see it is made up of double layer, outer membrane, inner membrane is showing infoldings called as cristae. This is the matrix. Ribosomes are present, and this is a mitochondrial DNA which has been shown. So, and this is the intermembrane space present between the outer and the inner membrane. Diagram is again important for you all to remember and practice the diagram, because if the question is asked about the mitochondria, you need to draw a neat labeled diagram of mitochondria. So important diagram. So that is about the mitochondria, which are called as powerhouse of the cell. Next are the plastids. Plastids are found in all plant cells and in euglenoids. These are easily observed under the microscope as they are large. They bear some specific pigments, thus imparting specific colors to the plants. Based on the type of pigments, plastids can be classified into chloroplast, chromoplast, and leucoplast. Chloroplast contain chlorophyll and carotenoid pigments, which are responsible for trapping light energy essential for photosynthesis. So chloroplast is mainly involved in photosynthesis. In the chromoplast, fat-soluble carotenoid pigments like carotene, xanthophylls, and others are present. This gives the part of the plant a yellow, orange, or red color. The leucoplasts are the colorless plastids of varied shapes and sizes with stored nutrients. Amyloplasts store carbohydrates, example potato. Ileoplast store oils and fats, whereas aleuroplast store proteins. So remember, leucoplasts are colorless plastids of varied shape and size with stored nutrients, and chromoplast, in the chromoplast fat soluble carotene pigments called as carotene, xanthophiles and others are present, whereas chloroplast contain chlorophyll and carotenoid pigments. This is a structure of the plastid which is been shown. It is a structure of chloroplast which is showing, again it is a double membrane bound structure having an inner membrane, it is having an outer membrane, and between the inner and outer membrane the space which is present is called as intermembrane space. This chloroplast are having grana, single is called as granum, which is made up of thylakoid. So granum is a stack of thylakoids. So thylakoid make one granum. These granum are interconnected by the lamellae. It has been shown, and this portion is called as a stroma. So it is made up of stroma, granum and the thylakoid. So this is the structure of the plastid. Again, diagram is important. So remember, as I told you, these chloroplasts are found in the mesophyll cells of leaves. They are found in the mesophyll of the leaves. These are oval, spherical, discoid or even ribbon-like organelles. Chloroplast is a double membrane organelle. The space limited by inner membrane is called stroma. A number of organized flattened membranous sacs called thylakoid are present in the stroma. As I told you here, thylakoid, they will stack together. The stack of thylakoid is called as the granum. Thylakoids are arranged like stakes of coins to form grana. They are flat membranous tubules. There are flat membranous tubules called stroma lamellae. So lamellae are present which are connecting the thylakoids of the different grana. Thylakoids enclose a space called lumen. Chlorophyll pigments are located in the thylakoids. Chloroplast contains enzymes required for the synthesis of carbohydrates and proteins. Stroma contains small circular DNA and ribosomes are of 70S type. So remember, it is also having a small circular DNA, and the ribosomes are present within the stroma. So this is the structure of the plastid. Diagram again important. So the same thing is explained over here. Majority of the chloroplast of the green plants are found in the mesophyll cells of the leaves, as I told you. These are lens-shaped, oval, spherical, discoid or even ribbon-like organelles having variable length. Their number varies from 1 per cell of the Chlamydomonas a green algae to 20 to 40% cell in the mesophyll. Like mitochondria, the chloroplast are also double membrane bound structures or organelles. Of the two, the inner chloroplast membrane is relatively less permeable. Space limited by the inner membrane of the chloroplast is called as stroma. A number of organized flattened membranous sacs called the thylakoids are present in the stroma. Thylakoids are arranged in stacks like the piles of coins called grana or the intergranal thylakoids. In addition, there are flat membranous tubules called stroma lamellae connecting the thylakoids of different grana. The membrane of thylakoids encloses a space called a lumen. The stroma of the chloroplast contains enzymes required for the synthesis of carbohydrates and proteins. It also contains some double-stranded circular DNA molecules and ribosomes. Chlorophyll pigments are present in the thylakoids. The ribosome of chloroplast are smaller and they're 70S type than the cytoplasmic ribosomes. So this was about the plastids. Coming to the next organelle, that is ribosomes. Ribosomes are the granular structures first observed under the electron microscope as dense particles by George Palladay in 1953. They are composed of ribonucleic acid as RNA and proteins and are not surrounded by any membrane. So these are not membrane bound organelles. They're not surrounded by any membrane. They're composed of RNA and proteins. The eukaryotic ribosomes are 80S while the prokaryotic ribosomes are of 70S type. This we have already discussed earlier. That is, eukaryotic ribosomes are of 80S and prokaryotic are of 70S. Here S, which is the Swedberg's unit, stands for the sedimentation coefficient. It indirectly is a measure of density and size. Both 70S and 80S ribosomes are again composed of two subunits. That is nothing but 80S is having again subunit is made up of two subunits, whereas 70 is again made up of two subunits. So that was about the ribosome. Next, coming to cytoskeleton. An elaborate network of filamentous proteinaceous structures present in the cytoplasm is collectively referred to as the cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton in a cell are involved in many functions such as mechanical support, motility, maintenance of the shape of the cell. So these are the functions of cytoskeleton. Firstly, we will discuss about cilia and flagella. Cilia and flagella are hair-like outgrowths of the cell membrane. Cilia are small structures which work like oars, causing the movement of either the cell or the surrounding fluid. Flagella are comparatively longer. So remember, flagella are slightly longer than the cilia, and these flagella are responsible for cell movement. The prokaryotic bacteria also possess flagella, but these are structurally different from that of the eukaryotic flagella. The electron microscopic study of cilium and or the flagellum shows that they are covered with plasma membrane. Their core, which is called as axoneme, possesses a number of microtubules running parallel to the long axis. The axoneme usually has 9 pairs of doublets of radially arranged peripheral microtubules and a pair of centrally located microtubules. Such an arrangement of axonemal microtubules is referred to as the 9+2 array. The central tubules are connected by bridges and is also enclosed by a central sheath, which is connected to one of the tubules of each peripheral doublets by a radial spoke. So central tubules are connected by the bridge, which is called as central sheath, and it is enclosed in a central sheath. So central tubules are connected by the bridges which are enclosed by a central sheath, which is again connected to one of the tubules of each peripheral doublets, which is by radial spoke. Thus, there are 9 radial spokes. The peripheral doublets are also interconnected by linkers. Both the cilium and flagellum emerge from centriole-like structures called the basal bodies. This is the structure of the cilia or the flagella has been shown. So as I told you, here there are their core is called as axoneme. Fine, and then it is which possesses a number of microtubules running parallel to the long axis. This axoneme usually has 9 pair of doublets. So it is having 9 pair of doublets. So there are doublets which are 9. So 9 pairs of doublets are present, which are, or you can say that they are radially arranged. These are radially arranged. The central tubules are located by bridges. You can see over here the central tubules are located by the bridges. So interdoublet bridge is present here, and this is the central tubule which is connected by the bridge, and it is covered by the central sheath. These are peripheral microtubules surrounding. Then the peripheral doublets are also interconnected by linkers. As I told you, both cilia and flagella emerge from centriole-like structures called the basal bodies. And also these, as I told you, the central tubules are connected by bridges and are also enclosed by central sheath, which is again connected to one of the tubule of each peripheral doublet by radial spoke. So here you can see it is again connected by the peripheral doublets are connected by the radial spoke to the central sheath. So this is the structure of the cilia or flagella, having the peripheral microtubules and the central microtubule, central sheath is present, radial spoke. So this is the structure of cilia and flagella. Coming to the next are the centrosome and centrioles. Centrosome is an organelle usually containing two cylindrical structures called centrioles. They are surrounded by amorphous pericentriolar materials. Both the centrioles in the centrosome lie perpendicular to each other, in which each has an organization like the cartwheel. They are plasma membrane peripheral microtubules, are present interdoublet bridge central radial microtubule spoke central sheath, which is made up of 9 evenly spaced peripheral fibrils of tubulin protein. Each of the peripheral fibril is a triplet. The adjacent triplets are also linked. The central part of the proximal region of the centriole is also proteinaceous and called the hub, which is connected with the tubules of peripheral triplets by radial spokes made of protein. You can erase this third point which has been shown over here, and here you just listen about this. Each of the peripheral fibril of the is a triplet. The adjacent triplets are also linked here. The central part of the proximal region of the centriole is also proteinaceous and is called as hub, which is connected with the tubules of peripheral triplets by radial spoke, which is made up of protein. The centrioles form the basal body of cilia or flagella and spindle fibers that give rise to spindle apparatus during cell division in animal cell. So remember, centrioles are present in animal cell whereas they are absent in the plant cell. This we have discussed earlier. So that was about the centrosome and the centriole. So centrosome is an organelle usually which is consisting of two cylindrical structures called as centrioles. Here the third point you can erase by mistake. It has been included here for the centrosome and centriole. So that was about the centrosome and the centriole. Coming to the next is the nucleus. Nucleus, again an important question in the exam to be asked for 5 marks, where you need to explain along with the diagram. The explanation is to be given. Nucleus as a cell organelle was first described by Robert Brown as early as 1831. Later, the material of nucleus stained by the basic dyes was given the name chromatin by Fleming. The interface nucleus was highly extended and elaborate nucleoprotein fibers called chromatin, nuclear matrix, and one or more spherical bodies called nucleoli. Electron microscopy has revealed that the nuclear envelope, which consists of two parallel membranes with a space between called as perinuclear space, forms a barrier between the materials present inside the nucleus and that of the cytoplasm. The outer membrane usually remains continuous with the endoplasmic reticulum and also bears ribosomes on it, which we have already seen when we studied about the endoplasmic reticulum. We have seen that the outer membrane of the nucleus is continuous with the endoplasmic reticulum, which is bearing the ribosomes. At number of places, the nuclear envelope is interrupted by minute pores which are formed by the fusion of its two membranes. These nuclear pores are the passages through which movement of RNA and protein molecules takes place in both directions between the nucleus and cytoplasm. Normally, there is only one nucleus per cell. Variations in the number of nuclei are also frequently observed. Some mature cells even lack nucleus. Example, erythrocytes, that is RBCs of many mammals, and sieve tube cells of vascular plants. The nuclear matrix or the nucleoplasm contains nucleolus and chromatin. The nucleoli are spherical structures present in the nucleoplasm. The content of nucleus is continuous with the rest of the nucleoplasm as it is not a membrane bound structure. It is a site for active ribosomal RNA synthesis. Larger and more numerous nucleoli are present in cells actively carrying out protein synthesis. So here is the structure of the nucleus which has been shown. So you can see it is having the nuclear envelope is there. This is the nucleoplasm, nucleolus, nuclear pore, and this is a chromatin network. So this is the structure of the nucleus. As I told you, it is nothing but it is having two membranes with perinuclear space. It is having nuclear pore is present. Nuclear pore allow the movement of RNA and proteins in both the directions. The nuclear matrix or the nucleoplasm contains nucleolus and chromatin. Nucleolus is a site of active ribosomal RNA synthesis. During cell division, the chromatins condense to form the chromosomes. That is the structure of the nucleus. Very important to be remembered for 5 marks this question. The interphase nucleus has loose and indistinct network of nucleoprotein fibers called chromatin. But during different stages of cell division, cells show structured chromosomes in place of nucleus. Chromatin contains DNA and some basic proteins called histones, some non-histone proteins, and also RNA. A single human cell has approximately 2-meter long thread of DNA distributed among its 46 chromosomes. Every chromosome essentially has a primary constriction or the centromere on the sides of which disc-shaped structures called kinetochores are present. This is the structure of the chromosome. It is a homologous chromosome which is showing the centromere. It is showing the kinetochore, centromere. These are the sister chromatids being shown. This is a homologous chromosome being present. Each chromosome is having centromere, kinetochore, and the chromatids being present. Based on the position of the centromere, the chromosomes can be classified into 4 types. Those are metacentric chromosomes, submetacentric chromosome, acrocentric chromosome, and telocentric chromosomes. The metacentric chromosomes has middle centromere forming 2 equal arms of the chromosome. So remember, metacentric chromosome, in the metacentric chromosome, the centromere is at the middle with the 2 equal arms. Whereas in the submetacentric chromosome has centromere slightly away from the middle of the chromosome, resulting into one shorter and one longer arm. So that is called a submetacentric. In case of acrocentric chromosome, the centromere is situated close to its end. Not exactly at the end, but it is just close to its end, forming one extremely short and one very long arm, whereas the telocentric chromosome has a terminal centromere. It is at the tip. Centromere is present at the tip. So it is called as telocentric. Sometimes a few chromosomes have non-staining secondary constrictions at a constant location. This gives the appearance of a small fragments called the satellite in the chromosome. So this question is very important. They may ask, classify the chromosomes based on the position of the centromere. You need to write these 4 types: metacentric, submetacentric, acrocentric, and telocentric chromosomes. Very important to be remembered. Just remember the position of the centromere in each of them. Lastly, about the microbodies, many membrane bound minute vesicles called microbodies that contain various enzymes are present in both plant as well as in the animal cells. Here, the different types of chromosomes are being shown. You can see in metacentric, it is the centromere is at the center, so it is having two equal arms, whereas in the submetacentric, it is slightly away from the center. The centromere is present slightly away from the center, and because of which it is having long arm and short arm. In acrocentric, it is not exactly at the tip, but almost it is extremely, it is having, it is near to the tip with an extremely short arm present and a very long arm. Whereas in the telocentric, the centromere is at the tip, it is terminal. It is called as telocentric. So very important to be remember: metacentric, submetacentric, acrocentric and telocentric chromosomes. These are the classification of the chromosomes depending on the position of the centromere. So here with this we have completed the chapter, that is cell, the unit of life. In the next class we will begin with the next chapter. Thank you.